Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We will reconvene our previous meeting from September the 12th. We reconvene here this evening now. Roll call, please.
Eads. Here. Marvin. Purdy. Sanders. Shook.
Here.
Weber.
Here.
Zuham.
Here.
Bell. Coffee.
Here.
Daly.
Here.
Degler.
Here.
Metzger.
Yes. Only item on the agenda that we left to be dealt with on the September agenda is the approval of the budget. It's been, budget was prepared, it is a balanced budget, and it's been on the table for display since last month. Any questions or concerns or comments? Pardon me? We're going to do it in the next meeting. Is there a motion to approve the budget? Moved by Zuham, second by Weber. Roll call, please.
Eads.
Yes.
Purdy.
Yes.
Shook.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Zuham.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
Daly.
Yes.
Degler.
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes. There is no other business left to transact in the September meeting, so we need a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn? Daly, second by Shook. Roll call, please.
Eads.
Yes.
Purdy.
Yes.
Shook.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Zuham.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
Daly.
Yes.
Degler.
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes. Okay, we are adjourned for that meeting. We now call to order the November 14th regular county board meeting. Roll call, please.
Eads. Here. Marvin. Purdy. Here. Sanders. Shook.
Here.
Weber.
Here.
Zuno.
Here.
Bell. Coffee.
Here.
Daly.
Here.
Degler.
Here.
Metzger.
Yes. Pledge the flag and follow by the invitation. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business for Coles County. Guide our hearts and minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Input your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance. We also ask that you look after both past and present military and service members who have made great sacrifices to protect our country. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Coffey. And the approval of minutes. We have two. We're going to do it separately. And that was the October minutes.
September 12th.
Okay, the September 12th and October 10th minutes to be approved. Is there a motion?
So we're approving both?
You want to do them separately?
We can do them separately or together as a group.
Move to.
Daly moves to pass both. Dagler seconds on both. Okay. Roll call, please.
Eads. Yes. Purdy.
Yes.
Shook.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Zuno.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
Daly.
Yes.
Degler.
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes. We have two drainage appointments. Drainage District Number 12 of Humboldt, Bill Keller, and Drainage District 1B of 7 Hickory, David Bumpus. We need to appoint those for terms until the first Tuesday in September of 2020. With advice and consent, roll call, please.
Eads.
Yes.
Purdy.
Yes.
Shook.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Zuno.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
Daly.
Yes.
Degler.
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes. Have one move to reappoint Terry Francis for a 5-year term to the Housing Authority. With advice and consent, roll call, please.
Eads.
Yes.
Purdy.
Yes.
Shook.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Zuno.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
Daly.
Yes.
Degler.
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes. Ms. Birdie, you said there was no building and grounds, is that correct?
No, Mr. President.
Mr. Weber, County Office and Rules, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are two meetings to report on. County Office and Rules Committee was called to order on October 7th at 4:30 p.m. The following members present: Brandon Bell, Paul Daly, Corey Sanders, Mike Zuhon, Mark Weber, Chairman presiding, Chairman Stan Metzger, attended as ex officio. Also in attendance was Bob Becker, Jim Donasso, Kirk Allen, John Kraft, and Wayne Carpus Kamada, administrative assistant. Under the tax update, Mr. Becker provided an update that was information given to him by Karen Bale at the office there. She was unable to attend. There was no old business, no new business, no miscellaneous business. Under public comment, Mr. Donasso and Mr. Allen provided information to the members to reconsider the time restraints on public comments during the public meeting. You have a copy of the material that Mr. Allen gave us. It was good information, something good to read on. The meeting adjourned at 4:50 on a motion by Mr. Metzger, second by Mr. Bell. Second reading. County Office and Rules Committee was called to order on November 6th at 4:30 p.m. The following members present: Brandon Bell, Paul Daly, Corey Sanders, Mike Zuhon, Mark Weber, Chairman presiding, also Stan Metzger, attending as ex officio. Also attending is Brian Marvin, County Board Member, Kevin Biddle, Supervisor of Assessments, George Edwards, Treasurer, Sue Reynolds, County Clerk, Ken Gibson, Liberty Systems, and Lenny Carpus Kamada, Administrative Assistant. Update was given by Mrs. Biddle as follows. Andrew Milliman is now certified. The Charleston Township commercial appraisals have been completed. The publication will be by the end of this month, by the end of November. There's no old business, under new business. Mrs. Reynolds informed the members of the State Board of Elections deemed the county's voting equipment to be non-compliant with federal guidelines. The purchase of battery backups will correct this issue. After much discussion on the age and condition of the voting equipment, Mrs. Reynolds was instructed to bring this issue to the Finance Committee. The members were presented with an amended 2018 holiday calendar, which now includes Election Day. Mr. Metzger moved to forward this to the County Board, and seconded by Mr. Bell, and passed unanimously. At this time, I also move to accept the amended calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dale. Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Eads,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Zuhon,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Daly,
Yes.
Degler,
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
Under miscellaneous business, the annual performance evaluation forms for Mrs. Biddle were distributed to members. The meeting adjourned at 5:05 p.m. on motion by Mr. Daly, seconded by Mr. Bell.
The emergency, I'll read the emergency 911 board minutes. Meeting was called to order September 7th, 2017. Called to order, those attending were Baker, Bell, Ensign, Martin, Rankin, and Setney. Absent was Branson, Edwards, and Reynolds. Others present, Director Bernie Buttram, Assistant Director Amanda Williamson, and Mark Harris. The approval of the July 2017 minutes happened. The budget report was given. Committee supplies and claims reviewed the bills and submitted them for the payment. The bills were reviewed with the ETSB. The director's report is attached. There was no old business, no new business. No executive session was held. Their next meeting was scheduled for November the 2nd at 3 p.m. Meeting adjourned. A motion by Baker and a second by Setney. There were multiple Finance Committee meetings held on September the 14th, September the 19th, and September the 28th, as well as October the 2nd. All of those concerned preparing and approving the budget. So I'll read you the October 2nd committee meeting. The Finance Committee was called to order at 5:30 p.m. with the following members present: Brian Marvin, Brandon Bell, Corey Sanders, Mike Zuhon, Stan Metzger, Chairman presiding. Also attending was Elaine Carpus Kamada, Administrative Assistant. In old business, the members reviewed the proposed 2018 budget request by various county officials and department heads. Mr. Bell moved to forward the final draft budget to the county board with a 30-day comment period. Motion was seconded by Zuhon and carried unanimously. In new business, the members discussed requests to purchase a vehicle for the Sheriff's Department in the 2017 budget year. Mr. Sanders moved to authorize the request using contingency funds. Mr. Marvin seconded the motion and passed unanimously. There was no miscellaneous business, and that meeting adjourned at 5:40 p.m. on a motion by Sanders and a second by Bell. Finance Committee was called to order again on November the 6th, 2017 at 5 p.m. Following members present: Brian Marvin, Brandon Bell, Corey Sanders, Mike Zuhon, Stan Metzger, Chairman presiding. Also attending were George Edwards, Treasurer; Lisa White, Sheriff's Department; Monty Walters, Maintenance Supervisor; and Elaine Carpus Kamada, Administrative Assistant. There was no old business. In new business, Ms. White presented a study on jail staffing issues. It is attached. Ms. Kamada was instructed to place this item on the agenda again for the next meeting. And miscellaneous business, the annual performance reviews for Ms. Kamada were distributed to the members. The meeting adjourned at 5:40 p.m. on a motion by Bell and a second by Sanders. Health and Safety Committee was called to order on October 30th, 2017 at 4:30 PM. The following members present: Jan Eads, Rick Shook, Mike Zuhon, Stan Metzger, Chairman presiding, Paul Bailey was unable to attend. Also attending were Mark Weber, County Board Member, Dan Ensign, EMA Director, 3 students from EIU, and Elaine Carpus-Camata, Administrative Assistant. In old business, there was none, no new business. The EMA update, Mr. Ensign updated members on activities of the EMA office as follows. The EOC grant in the amount of $17,800 was approved. He updated the members on the upcoming Incident Command Systems training, informed the members of the oil and gas pipeline dinner, distributed information on the county-wide alert system, and that information is attached. The Animal Shelter Care Center update, those reports are attached and were distributed to members. There was no miscellaneous business. The meeting adjourned at 4:45 on motion by Zuhon and a second by Eads. Mr. Bailey, insurance.
Yes, we had an insurance meeting. The insurance meeting was called to order on November the 6th, 2017 at 4:15 with the following members present: Mark Degler, Brian Marvin, Corey Sanders, and myself presiding. Chairman Stan Metzger attended ex officio. Also attending were George Edwards, Treasurer, and Elaine Carpus-Camata, Administrative Assistants. Under old business, there was none. And under new business, Mr. Edwards informed the members of the Employee Ad Hoc Insurance Committee reviewed the bids for the employee insurance coverage and recommends that the county offer 2 insurance plans through Aetna. Mr. Degler moved to forward a resolution to the county board for this change, and the motion was seconded by Mr. Marvin and passed unanimously. At this time, so moved.
Okay. Motion by Daly, is there a second? Second by Weber. Roll call, please.
Eads,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Zuko,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Daly.
Yes.
Degler,
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
Miscellaneous business, there was none. The meeting was adjourned at 4:30 on a motion by Mr. Sanders and second by Mr. Degler. I also attended our quarterly sermon meeting and got our insurance for the year, and it remained unchanged. So it was very good news for the county, considering that we had 2 huge claims this year. So our insurance stayed the same as last year.
Thank you. There was no liquor commission. The mental health board is meeting on Thursday evening. Mr. Daly, Planning and Development Commission.
Planning and Development Committee, October the 2nd, 2017. The Planning and Development Committee was called to order at 4:15 with the following members present: Stan Metzger, Travis Coffey, Brandon Bell, Nancy Purdy, and myself presiding. Also attending were Jackie Chisholm, our PDC, and Elaine Carpus-Camata, Administrative Assistant. There was no old business. And the new business, the members were presented with a resolution authorizing the annual downstate operating assistant grant agreement with the state of Illinois for Dial-A-Ride program. Ms. Purdy moved to forward the resolution to the county board, and the motion was seconded by Mr. Metzger and carried unanimously. We've got 2 motions on here from back in April. The ordinance for a grant agreement that we need to pass. It's the ordinance for grant agreement to provide public transportation in Coles County, which then we were able to accept the grant money. So I so moved for that first ordinance for the grant agreement to the public transportation for Coles County.
Motion's been made by Daly, is there a second? Second by Purdy. Roll call, please.
Eads,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Zuko,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Daly,
Yes.
Degler,
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
Now, this resolution is for the Downstate Operating Assistant Grant Program called DOAP, D-O-A-P, and that is for the operating of this system. So I so move at this time for that grant program.
Moved by Daly, second by Shook. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Eads,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Zuko,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Daly,
Yes.
Degler,
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
And now the next resolution is the Department of Transportation Section 5311 Grant Agreement. And I move so to accept that at this time.
Moved by Daly, second, please. Purdy again. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Eads,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Zuho,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Daly,
Yes.
Degler,
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
And there is no miscellaneous business, and the meeting adjourned at 4:20 on a motion by Mr. Bell, second by Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Public Health, Mr. Zumo.
There was a meeting last week on November the 8th. You now have official minutes. The agenda was covering the special meetings that dealt with budget for fiscal year 2018 for the health department. That was officially approved after a special meeting where we had to readjust it. Administrative report, financial condition. The budget was passed. We have a small growth in contingency for the 2018 fiscal year. We have all of the 2017 grants coming from the state and federal pass-through money. We have received all of those. We reviewed the county insurance update. Nursing report was given by Mara Hildebrand. Gloria Spear gave the environmental report. In old business, we have been in meetings with EIU dealing with the topic of immunization and health screenings for international students because of in certain areas of the world, we cannot accept outside health screenings from certain parts of the world for TB. So there's some ongoing discussion on how to get insurance coverage because there are some concerns that some antibiotic-resistant strains could crop up. Nothing in the wind about that, but we're just trying to get prepared with international students. And we set our next set of meetings.
Thank you. Mr. Weber, Road and Bridge Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On October 30th, the Road and Bridge Committee was called to order at 5 p.m. with the following members present: Travis Coffey, Paul Daly, Rick Shipp, Mike Zuho, Mark Weber, Chairman of the Record. Also in attendance was Rick Johnson, County Engineer, 3 students from EIU, and Lane Carpus, Kamaya, Administrative Assistant. Under old business, this would be a good time, I think, we do a resolution in April. That was the county bridge fund petition for a culvert in Ashmore Township. At this time, I so move.
Second.
Moved by Weber, second by Daly. Questions? Roll call, please.
Eads,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Zuho,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Daly,
Yes.
Degler,
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
Under new business, Mr. Johnson presented a cost share with Hutton Township for crossroad culvert replacement on Township Road 282. Mr. Daly moved forward this to the county board, seconded by Mr. Coffey. And I pass unanimously, and I so move.
Moved by Weber, is there a second? Mr. Coffey? Roll call, please.
Eads,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Zuho,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Daly,
Yes.
Degler,
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson also recommended the reduction of posted speed to 45 miles an hour from County Road 1200 East to the Charleston city limits along County Highway 7. Mr. Zuho moved forward this request to the county board for approval and was seconded by Mr. Shook. And that also passed unanimously. And I so move.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Is there a second? Second by Purdy. Are they lowering 45?
Yes.
From 55 or not posted?
It was 55, it was unposted.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Eads,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Zuho,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Daly,
Yes.
Degler,
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
The members were presented with the IDOT reductions in fiscal year 2018 statewide program. You have that in your packet there, and you change the whole thing. Chairman Weber distributed Mr. Johnson's annual review forms to the members. Mr. Johnson distributed the county engineer's report to the members. You also have that in your packet. Under miscellaneous business, Mr. Johnson presented the Department of Transportation motor fuel tax audit reports to the County of Coles, Coles County Road Districts, and the Coles County Township Bridge Funds. Meeting adjourned at 5:25 on a motion by Mr. Bailey, and seconded by Mr. Cox.
Thank you. Would you be willing to read, Mr. Webb, would you be willing to read the sheriff's committee as well? Sorry to catch you off guard there.
Yeah. Okay. Sheriff and Law Enforcement Committee was called over at 5 p.m. on October 2nd, with the following members present. Travis Coffey, Brian Marvin, Rick Shook, Mark River, and Corey Sanders presiding. Also in attendance was Stan Nestor, County Board Chairman, Sheriff Jimmy Rankin, Lisa White from the Sheriff's Department, and Lorraine Carpus Kamara. The reports were gone over that we usually have all the time. Under old business, Ms. White presented a study on jail staffing issues, and you should have an attachment on that. After much discussion, Mr. Ware moved forward this request to the Finance Committee for consideration. Mr. Coffey seconded that motion. I pass unanimously. Under new business, the contract for police services for the Village of Lerner will be presented at the next meeting. There's no miscellaneous business. The meeting adjourned at 5:20 on a motion by Mr. Weber, seconded by Mr. Schiff.
Thank you. Backing up just a little bit, Senior Citizens Tax Levy Committee.
Yep,
Pardon me.
sorry. Okay, the Law Enforcement Committee was called over on November 6th at 5:30. Following members present, Travis Coffey, Brian Marvin, Rick Shook, Mark River, and Corey Sanders. Also in attendance was Stan Nestor, County Board Chairman, Chief Deputy Tad Friedman, and Mark Harris from the Sheriff's Department, and Lane Carpus Kamara. Again, we went over all the reports that were presented. There's no old business. New business. The members were presented with a contract for police services with the Village of Lerner. Mr. Weber moved forward this contract to the County Board, and seconded by Mr. Coffey, and I passed unanimously. And I so moved to accept that.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Is there a second? Mr. Shook? Questions? Roll call, please.
Eads,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Zupan,
Yes.
Coffey,
Yes.
Daly,
Yes.
Degler,
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
Mr. Harris distributed the proposed bylaws for the Government Telecommunications Consortium. You have that attached to your pamphlet. After much discussion, the authorize Mr. Harris to move forward on this project. Motion was seconded by Mr. Marvin, and that passed unanimously. There is no miscellaneous business. The meeting adjourned at 6:10 on a motion by Mr. Weber, seconded by Mr. Coffey.
Thank you. Backing up, Ms. Eads, there was no Senior Citizens Tax Levy Committee, correct?
No meeting, Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Supplies and claims, Mr. Sanders normally handles that. Are you on that as well?
Yes. All those who are vetted and approved.
Thank you. Is there any old business this evening? New business? Miscellaneous business? No reason for executive session? No announcements for appointments?
Oh, should I put that on there?
Two.
You got two items here, they asked me earlier.
Have two appointments. One appointment to the 911 board and one appointment to the Holman Mutual Drainage District. These will be appointed on the December 12th, 2017 meeting. Public comment. Mr. Perry?
Well, we've made it to 11 months. I've got something I'd like to give everybody from the board, and it's something that I think is pretty neat. I found it, so maybe you guys get it. Have a pocket. Couple of questions, and I'll stand over here. How many of you here around here took the oath of office? Did you all take the oath of office? Could I have a show of hands? Everybody pretty much did, right? When you take an office, you gotta do it. I want to show you what it says in the oath of office. It says, "I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois." So you've taken an oath to support both. So the point I'm trying to make to you is that we're all in this together. We're all Americans. We're all trying to do the right thing. This is not about animosity for me. I just would like to find a way for everybody to walk away and be happy. That's what this is about. And we feel like there's, as a group, we've been talking, and there's kind of confusion in the ranks about what's going on. So tonight, what I'm going to do is going to go over 5 or 6 things, how Coles County is violating the Equal Protection Clause. And I won't take much time. I'm going to be brief. Number 1, the Equal Protection Clause is part of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution. The clause, which took effect in 1868, provides that no state shall deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the law. The actions of the Coles County regarding real estate taxes covering tax year 2016 unconstitutionally violates the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause, placing a disproportionate tax on Mattoon Township commercial and industrial properties as opposed to commercial and industrial properties elsewhere in the Mattoon School District and in the county. Number 3, 42 U.S.C. 1983 provides persons a federal cause of action based on state violations of federal law. Every person who, under the color of any statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage of any state or territory or the District of Columbia, subjects or causes to be subjected any citizen of the United States or other person within a jurisdiction thereof to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured by the Constitution and law shall be liable to the party injured in action at law, suit in equity, or other proper proceeding for redress. Number 4, the 14th Amendment does not require precise equality or uniformity in taxation or prohibit inequality in taxation which results from mere mistake or error in judgment of tax officials. Number 5, however, the 14th Amendment does secure every person within the state's jurisdiction against intentional and arbitrary discrimination, whether occasioned by express terms of a statute or by its improper execution through duly constituted agents. Stated differently, the 14th Amendment protects only against taxation which is palpably, arbitrarily, or grossly unequal in its application to the persons concerned. And finally, number 10 here, I'm going to skip through it. The defendant's actions under the color of state laws have violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution. So here we are arguing about something that is as plain as the nose on your face from the standpoint of what went wrong. We have the documentation. I think that we're wasting a lot of time and effort for something that we're waiting on the federal judge to tell you what's going to happen. All I'm trying to say is that we live in this county together. We're a group of folks. And what I want to do is find an end to this, because I don't think this thing's going to end like it should end. I think that with the information that we have and the data that's been collected, it's undoubtedly true that the violation has occurred. And I'm not an attorney, but I know well enough to know that when you violate the Constitution, it won't set well with any judge. And the point will be is we're not gaining by doing this. So that's all I've got to say for this evening, and thank you.
Thank you. Pardon me, is it Mr. Perriman? Is
like to relinquish
Who's
my
the
time to
second
Mr.
person?
Perry.
I'm
All
fine.
right.
James?
James.
So you're turning yours down then? Okay,
To Mr. Donato.
thank you.
You're up.
Mr. Donato?
Is it okay if I stand over there? I've got something I'd like to show everybody. If you wouldn't mind, Mr. Chairman, I have a map of the county broken down by townships and also a couple of letters written by the board, just for the sake of everyone knows what I'm talking about. I'd like everyone to get copies, if that's okay? Okay. So I'll just wait till everybody sees a copy of that. I was expecting a podium, so you'll have to forgive me for having my notes in my hand. Should get a copy of a map of the townships, and then a letter that went out by the board, I believe by the board, to Dale Ryder and Rich Phillips. So you may or may not have seen that before. Sorry. Oh, that's not supposed to be in there.
You can attend that.
You can talk to Kevin.
Here you go. What a way to advertise. Yes.
So those letters, by the way, one's addressed to Senator Ryder, State Senator Ryder, and the other one to State Rep. Mr. Phillips. So they're the same letters, are just addressed to the same person. Different people, same content. I just wanted you to have them so you knew that they were who they went to and they did exist. And the reason I have these handouts, I just want to make sure that everyone has a full understanding in detail of what I'm going to talk about. So sometimes it's easier when you're able to see it for yourself in writing and have a map. So I know visuals can help, and that's why I'm bringing them. Appreciate you letting me use them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for letting me use them. Okay, everyone has one? Okay, we can talk about the 14th Amendment. I know Rob addressed it on the Constitution, but now I'm going to inform you on how this affects the taxpayers of Coles County. So this is where the rubber meets the road. This board passed and adopted a resolution establishing the division of Coles County into 4 assessment districts in March 10th of 2015. Many of you were on the board, and you've seen that. If anyone wants a copy of that, I can get them to you. Those divisions were based on the total number of parcels within, the divisions were based on the total number of parcels, with Mattoon Township being selected as the first to be assessed because that district had the largest number of parcels. Obviously, in 2016, that township was assessed. It was published in the paper, the notice of the reassessment, and then the taxes were collected for the 2017 tax year. Everybody knows that. Currently, as I think stated by Mr. Weber, you're going to have the reassessment of Charleston Township is being done right now, or is completed, and you intend on publishing before the end of the month. Am I correct on that? That is correct. Okay. I'd like to show you the assessment map based on the districts that you established in your resolution. I'll show this to the crowd here too. Basically, and I don't know if you can see that, but District Number 1 is Mattoon here. That has already been assessed. The taxes have already been rolled on Mattoon. The second district you established was Assessment District Number 2, which is Charleston Township, which is currently being assessed. Number 3 has multiple townships. North Oka, Humboldt, Lafayette, and Paradise make up number 3, the third assessment district. The fourth assessment district is 7 Hickory, Morgan, East Oakland, Ashmore, Hutton, and Pleasant Grove. That's the way this county decided to establish its districts per your resolution. The problem with that is, and this is one of our contentions, is Mattoon Township and some of the surrounding townships that you have put in other assessment districts share the same school district and other services. That violates the 14th Amendment. We are not contending the fact that this board has the right to divide into assessment districts as provided by state law. That is not our contention. I want to clarify that. Our contention is that your districts, as you continue to reassess, continue to violate the 14th Amendment, also violates Illinois Department of Revenue rules. Because if you look in the letter that I gave you to Senator Ryder and Mr. Phillips, Representative Phillips, it says in the paragraph, and you guys acknowledge it, right out of the publication from the Illinois Department of Revenue, and that publication is titled The Illinois Property Tax Cycle, A General Guide to Local Property Taxes. It states on pages 16 and 17, and this reads right from the letter, all assessment levels must be uniform. It gives the example, and this is the example it gives, the very thing that I'm contending here tonight. Assessment level is not uniform within a county. One township in a county is assessed at an average level of 20% of full value and another at 40%. Both townships are in the same school district. Property owners in township assessed at a higher level would on average pay twice as much as owners of similar properties in other townships. We ran the statistics on the commercial and industrial reappraisal. We FOIA requested every single industrial and commercial tax bill in Mattoon Township, and we ran the statistics, and here's what the statistics show. It says, for the tax year 2016, Mattoon Township is paying $929,876.41 in 2016. And there's a chart that shows the increase. Basically, the difference between the 2015 and 2016 tax year for Mattoon Township is almost $1 million. It's that $929,000 figure I gave you. Actually, Paradise Township had a decrease after their reassessment. They weren't reassessed, they had a decrease. Lafayette Township, the difference between tax year 2015 and 16 was $14,727. And the difference between tax year 2015 and 16 North Oka was $26,426. Mattoon Township was paying and shouldering a majority of the tax burden due to the reassessment. This is exactly what the Illinois Department of Revenue was talking about in their level when it says all levels must be uniform. They're not uniform. So my comment and question to this board is last February or March meeting, I can go back and look it up, I made the argument that it was unfair to roll the taxes and publish on Mattoon. This board stated that if they could go back and do it all over again, you wouldn't have rolled the taxes on Mattoon. You wouldn't have published on Mattoon. But you had to now because you had to collect the tax because you already published. That's what you told us. What I'm telling you ahead of time is you haven't published on Charleston Township yet. You have not done that yet. You're intending on doing that at the end of the month. I want the board to know that if you go ahead and publish on Charleston Township, you are willfully violating Illinois Department of Revenue rules and violating the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. That's irrefutable because there are people in Lafayette Township and some other townships that attend the Charleston School District. So in essence, you're letting the people, the industrial and commercial owners, property owners in Charleston Township, carry the greater majority of the burden after the reassessment is done. So my question is this: do our elected leaders have to follow the rule of law, yes or no?
Yes.
Don't we have to follow the rule of law?
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, I'm not an anarchist, I don't think anyone in our group is against paying taxes. But if you know, and you've been informed right here and now, that by publishing the taxes on Charleston Township before you reassess Lafayette and all the other townships, per your resolution to divide into districts, you are in deliberate and willful violation of the 14th Amendment and Illinois Department of Revenue statutes. So, like I said before, we should have done this before the taxes were rolled earlier in the year on Mattoon. We should have sat down, we should have all sat down and worked this thing out so that everybody was reassessed the first time all together. Taxes were rolled and published, or published at the same time, rolled at the same time, and then everybody would have had equal access to the board review over time, and it would have been done the right way. But there was a rush. There was a rush to get Mattoon Township in, and because of that, you violated the people from Mattoon Township's 14th Amendment right and Illinois Department of Revenue rules. So now I'm part of the Charleston Township reassessment. I'm asking you, are you going to do the same thing to me? Are you going to violate my 14th Amendment right? Department of Revenue rules, and I'm telling you ahead of time now, so you cannot use the excuse that, well, we already published, so there's nothing we can do. You have not published yet, and you don't have to publish. You do not have to publish. There is no reprimand for not publishing, and you guys know it, and we know it. We've talked to the Department of Revenue. You made a mistake with Mattoon. I don't think it was a mistake, to be honest with you, but we'll take that up in federal court. But you published on Mattoon. I'm telling you, as a taxpayer, commercial taxpayer in Charleston, you have no right to violate my 14th Amendment right. You have no right to violate Illinois Department of Revenue rules. And if this board decides to do it, you are going to be held accountable for this. And so you've been told ahead of time, and if you go ahead and do it, you're willfully violating the law. And for those of you who sat here and heard me speak and our group speak for 11 months, going on 12, listen to what I say, take notes, and go back and see if what I'm saying is true. And if it is, all I would say to you is, how can you with a good conscience go ahead and do this to the taxpayers of our county? You just voted for a 2% increase in the salaries for the county, which I think is above the rate of inflation, correct? Am I correct on that? What was the rate of inflation? What was it, Dave? Okay, 2%. You gave everybody an increase. You're taking money out of our pocket and violating our rights. I don't think it's right. I think it stinks. I think you need to be held accountable, and you need to know about that. And you acknowledged it in the letter to Senator Ryder and also to Representative Phillips that you knew something wasn't right. So, do what you want on it.
I got people in my district say their taxes went down, and that's the Mattoon Township.
That's because the tax levy, the school district's tax levy, they lowered it.
I'm just telling you.
They lowered it because you're probably talking about residential because the industrial and commercial.
There's other
tax
places
went up.
too that's went down too.
I just read you Mattoon paid $1 million more in 2015.
Anecdotal stories are not going to get.
I've got the statistics
I know,
if you'd like
I know.
to see it, Mr. Shook. That's the statistics. They don't lie.
Next up, it'd be Mr. Stodden. That's fine. Is it Beasley?
Yes.
Yes. You want to speak?
Pass mine to anybody else that wants time.
I'll take some time.
Don't laugh.
Really quick.
Thank you.
I think the rub that I have about it is that Lafayette Township will not pay any additional taxes until 2019. 2018 taxes payable in 2019. That means Mattoon Township is going to suffer a couple of years more taxation than Lafayette. So how in the world can that be fair? Please explain that to me. Well, it's what it is. You're not going to tax them until 2019. 18 is payable in 19. That's what your paperwork says. How is that fair?
You guys made the resolution, not us.
Mr. Duke.
I just wanted to get a little clarification on an older topic, and it's concerning the bank building that was purchased in the early 2000s. And I'm not sure if anybody here other than Mrs. Eads was on the board at that time, but maybe you can address the issue. What was the main purpose of purchasing the bank building at that time?
Well, at the time, Judge Waller sent a letter to the county board stating that there were too many non-court related offices in this building, that the court services needed the space. And so it was investigated around the square, other places, and it was decided that that would be the closest part that we could move the supervisor of assessments, the treasurer's office, possibly the county highway department, probation, all of those non-court related issues into another building and have it be with more upgraded equipments and that kind of thing. At that point, then when we did some servicing here for the telephone system, it was run under there so that that consolidated would be available to that building. And then it became known later, after it was purchased, that it was bought with the farm money, and it became known later then that the building was going to cost, we had thought at the time it could be renovated. Then we found out that there was mold in the basements, there was other things going on after it had set so long, and that there were maybe 3 possible sections of that building that had been built at different times. So it became impossible to say that we could renovate it. So then the amount to tear it down and rebuild they were planning to have to reconfigure it. They couldn't pull it as close to the sidewalk as they had hoped. They couldn't use some of the parking lots. They had hoped to be able to go to the other parking lot that was behind the 5th Street and be able to use some of that. Well, then the city decided when they first told us that they would close that street off, then no, we're not going to. So then it became an issue that part of what we owned was blocked off from what we had planned to, and then the cost just kept escalating.
Is there a reason why there wasn't an inspection on the building before it was purchased? There was an inspection?
Yeah, Hans did the total inspection.
So was there any recourse for the county to go back on the inspector?
On Hans?
Yes.
Well,
I
obviously.
mean, truthfully, you paid them good money probably.
Oh, they paid them well. Good.
I mean, we paid $50,000 for the inspection across the street that we didn't purchase.
Well, that was 17 years ago, but
Right.
still wasn't cheap, I'm sure.
Right. So there was no recourse actually taken though.
Well, I don't think that anybody, anytime you start in with hopes and dreams of doing something, it doesn't always, even when you plan to build your home, it's going to cost more than you expected. Other things you plan to do, you go out to buy a car, it always costs more than you think. And I think that very often when people change in these committees and this kind of thing, it was the only place that could be found that had parking. As you know, we still use the lot for many people. And, it had the parking and had everything that we thought we needed, and we thought we could go through with it. But then, then it just didn't happen.
When the building was purchased, there was 2 brokers involved. Can you tell us why there were the 2 brokers, one outside the county?
There wasn't 2 brokers. Bill Whitworth in Mattoon handled the purchase for the county from Boatman's Bank. Boatman had their own person, and Whitworth represented this group.
I was thinking there was somebody out of St. Louis involved in that transaction.
Well, that's Boatman's Bank. They had their own broker.
They had their own broker, and at that time, there wasn't anybody related to any of the board members at that time working for that organization down there.
No.
Because that's been brought up to me, and I just wanted to say, there was no profit from you or any of your family members at that time.
No.
Okay, I just wanted to ask because there have been people ask that in the community, and I just wanted to clear it out,
No. Absolutely not. That's why we distanced, Mr. Yao was a realtor too.
Right.
And so the only reason that we did any scout robbing for the whole group, we investigated places over here, tearing it down, where could you park? And the only reason we did the scouting part was that that was the only place we could find that was in a proximity to where Judge Waller thought that we should be.
Sure. Okay.
No, we had nothing to gain from it.
Okay.
Mr. Whitworth, I have no idea what he made off of it, but,
Right.
you know.
Okay.
Nobody here listed it, nobody here sold it.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Annalisa Switzer?
Yeah, I'm Annalisa Switzer. I was here last month, and you might remember I'm here representing the Coles Progressives, which is a local nonpartisan group. We're just trying to make our community better. And one of our objectives is to stay more informed about and become more involved in local politics. So that's basically why I'm here. The reason why I wanted to talk tonight is because I wanted to let you know that the concerned taxpayers of Coles County did come and talk to our group to fill us in about the whole property assessment fiasco and the events leading up to the lawsuit that they filed. Many of us at Coles Progressives did find their facts and their arguments to be interesting and compelling. But before rushing to judgment, and in the interest of fairness, we would like to extend an invitation to any or all of you to come to our group and give us your perspective. So if any of you would be interested in doing that, you can contact me and we can figure out how to do that. And I have some business cards that I can pass around. And I also have 2 quick questions just from listening to you guys talk tonight. One, I mean, one is I heard you talk about the grants for the public transportation. I don't know if you talked about it because I'm in the back, I can't really see.
Yeah.
Was that just for dial-a-ride? Those?
Yes.
Okay. I was hoping that maybe we had some grand plan for more public transportation in the county, but just dial-a-ride. Okay. And then the other thing that was caught my attention was that our county voting machines are non-compliant.
Yes, they're tuned up with, you want to explain it? You know what?
Sure. And I have no notes in front of me, of course, but we was just notified about probably 3 weeks ago now that apparently the vendor that we contract, that has our voting equipment, has to go before the State Board of Elections every 2 years and get recertified. This equipment has a card in it that if the electricity goes off, the battery back up, there is nothing that has changed to my knowledge for the last several years on the equipment, but they just didn't come forward, get it approved by the board. The board is not, the State Board of Elections is not going to approve it without this battery change. There is a way around that, and that is just to buy either what's called an e-card that would make it compliant, $250 a piece for the e-card, or you can do a battery backup and it will be compliant. The Board of Elections is not set to meet on this again. I believe it's till November 20th. So we will be in compliant with new batteries purchased for the.
Is that for the electronic voting machines, like, where you, the touch
It's
screen
for
ones, or
the
is
black box.
so that's the one where you take the paper and you put it in?
Yeah, your ballot goes in, that's correct. The other one is what's the touchscreen, which is for the disabled. anyone can use it, but that's what it was designed for.
So I guess I'm understanding that they're not compliant because something could have gone wrong with them, not that there's any evidence that it did.
That's correct. I just think they're getting nervous with all the fraud and the,
Sue, may I speak? Our the machines where you deposit your ballot, its current state is not compliant because if there's an electrical failure, they would not, it has to do with state level elected officials. If you do not put a mark in one of those, it will kick it out. If, in the case of electricity failing, it would not notice that. So it wouldn't allow you to have a chance to correct your ballot. It doesn't, they will be in compliance as soon as we have a battery backup, an external power source to give them. They don't have an internal battery backup to do it. So all we have to do is have a power source. If the electricity goes out, we plug it into the power source, the machine is then in compliance. But right now, in its condition, in the event that the electricity goes out, and it may go out in that precinct and every other precinct in the county is working just fine. So we elected to move forward and purchase a limited number of battery backups, so when we get the phone call that Humboldt precinct is, you just bring it over there, plug it in, and your machines are back up and running and totally compliant. So at the current state, because we did not have the battery backups, the external power source, and the vendor we used, we were told we're not in compliance, along with 26 other counties in the state. This is
65.
65, I'm sorry. I knew there was a 6 in there somewhere.
Well-
But yeah, this is not.
So we will be reporting.
To clarify,
But the board of review will not say we're totally compliant because they don't meet until next month. We're going to be compliant according to their regulations, just that we won't have their stamp.
Oh, you
saying-
said November 20th.
of this year.
So, yeah. Oh, of this year?
Yes.
Okay, so
Now-
by the time the election comes around, yes.
Yes, but we have to be, my concern was we have to be ready to vote
Right,
in
yeah.
January.
Yeah, so,
But
That's right.
that black box has the capability of, if there is no battery, that would be electricity, power goes out, there's an auxiliary bin that you can manually put the ballot in. The problem is, they made that legislation that if there is a state constitutional officer on the ballot, and if somebody overlooks it, chooses not to vote for it, it's gonna kick it back.
Yep.
And enough said.
is that clear?
Yep. Thank you.
Our vendor is very thorough in making sure Sue's aware of everything going on.
Thank you.
Kevin Gaither?
Yes, right, yeah. Thank you. I think, we should always, we choose that Veterans Day. And I think every day should be Veterans Day. So that's, I think when people say should thank them for their service, I think that's just a bit too much lip service. I just deeply appreciate, that's why we're all here, that's why we have this public comment. And I thank every one of them. I couldn't serve, so I just wanted to say that. Also, every one of you that showed up today, thank you so much. That shows a lot. Not everybody did to pass your budget. So, that's a lot of respect. That takes a lot. So it takes some of us, I know that. So just a few things. It's about 200 employees in the county. That's about right. 200 employees. And, I'm all about raising wages. I'm running for U.S. Congress, so I hope, I'm sure Sue's the best county clerk I've ever found around. So all the ballots would be just great. But I just think raising everybody's wages in the county, 2% makes it a little bit, it doesn't sit well with me because the highest wage earners in the county get the largest, largest check on that. The lowest lowest wage earners in the county, they're the ones that really deserve and need all of that money. When you look at the poverty statistics in Coles County, it's over 20%. It's over 22% actually. And then you're taxing the people that actually generate most of those jobs in the county. The people that actually generate a lot of the incomes and that are really been stagnant for way too long. I think that's a huge mistake. We could be putting some of those, in that higher echelon of the wages. We could be putting that into investing in the economy, investing in bringing in business, investing in tourism dollars and things like that. Those are just my thoughts. Small businesses drive our economy, and we need to be supporting them. And I think just this kind of, I've been sitting in here for, the better part of the whole year. And I respect all the people here and over here too. This is difficult stuff. But, when we hurt small businesses, when we hurt the people that generate jobs, we're in real trouble. Especially when we've been through for the last couple of years. We all know the state of Illinois and how terribly it's been ran. It's horrible. So we need to do more to help the people that are in poverty to raise them up. And that, to me, I don't see that happening. I just see a lot of excuses, and I'm not about excuses, and I'm sure none of you are too. We need to be doing more to help those people. That's just what I have to say. So, thank you.
Kevin, I would like to respond to one of your comments on the 2% raises. For the last several years, have been teach to each office holder how they distribute that. I've got 6 employees that every one of them shares an equal role in running our office. They're phenomenal. I can't even say enough how fantastic they are. I take that 2% and so the total amount, I divide it 6 ways. Their raise is all equal.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
The salary line item is increased by 2%, not each individual salary, so that this office holder or administrator can dispense that money as they see fit.
Well, thank you. And see, that's a huge thing that I think a lot of people here may not even understand.
I
wanted to give you a chance to say that, because that means more to, I think, the people than just the 2%. Because when people see 2% increase, they don't understand that goes literally to the people doing the work.
I figure it takes 6 folks to turn that wheel.
Yes.
And they all jump in, they all work equally.
And I know the county clerk's office is one of the hardest working offices. They all work hard.
I'd like to answer something to that too. I want to make sure that there's no misconception.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Coffey, if you could, the invocation that you read, if you could grab that. I got a question for you in regards to something about fair or fairness that was in that. I'll come back to it here in just a second. Just first off, just a thing on housekeeping. You guys approved the September 7 minutes.
September 14th.
14, September, whatever.
12, sorry. 12, yeah, like,
Well, tonight was the finishing of that meeting. So how did you?
I caught that myself when we did, that needs to be put on to next month, you're right.
Okay, because I just want to make sure.
Yeah, my eyebrow when we did that, so, yeah, you're right.
Got it, perfect, thank you. In your invocation, you had something about in our hearts and minds being fair. I don't remember.
Yeah, it said, as we conduct the business, guide our hearts and minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech.
Spirit of fairness.
fairness, accountability. I walked through the door, the meeting's been up there for a while, I didn't notice it until tonight. We got the Bill of Rights up there. We say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, the last three words. What are the last three words? And justice for all. Fairness, accountability, oaths of office. In the last 6 years, as of last week, the work that we've been doing across the state has led to 139 indictments. Those are public officials facing prosecution for not following the law. Some places, it doesn't happen. In this county, Mr. Bauer, I understand the previous state's attorney kind of green-lighted policy on the gun issue. But one thing that dawned on me the other night, there is no green-lighting court orders that say, you shall destroy. That happened in this county and nobody's been held accountable. I looked back through the audits and I found multiple audits year after year with credit card problems. Some of you are familiar with one of the past supervisory assessments in the credit cards. But I don't recall anybody ever being held accountable and prosecuted. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't recall that ever happening. When we don't hold them accountable, the rest of the people find out that there is no accountability, and it starts to create that distrust. The letter that you guys sent Mr. Ryder and Mr. Phillips, in that paragraph, and again, I apologize, I've read this several times, but it really dawned on me today when they went over this again. It specifically points out the problem and the conflict and acknowledges that the whole county wasn't done. I'm glad that this is happening though, because, and I'll get the letter here shortly, Department of Revenue has sent a letter out. I don't know if you've gotten one yet or not, Mr. Bauer, but apparently it's supposed to go out to all state attorneys, every county, statewide. The number of 26, I don't know, maybe you've heard this from the backside, you were mentioning the number 26. There's 26 either supervisor of assessments or assessors that have not qualified to do their job. And it all stemmed from what happened right here, because they started doing their investigation statewide. Think about 26 supervisor of assessments, or even an assessor in your township that is not certified by the state to do their job. What's that mean? I know if I'm a taxpayer, my taxes went up, and I find out my assessor wasn't qualified, you're in agreement, right? That's a problem. And I hope that's not the case here, and I don't know what the numbers are. It's like I said, it's 26 statewide. But the state's in a real conundrum. Perry County, 30 years they've not done assessments. 30 years they've not rolled the taxes. They've not published them. 30 years there's been no ramifications. The reason I mention that is whether you agree or disagree with the current lawsuit, you are fixing to finish Charleston, roll that and publish that, which may potentially put you in the very same pickle that we have right now with litigation. And I would highly encourage you to look at your own letter that acknowledges the conflict. You've already found and proven that there is no ramification if you don't do the whole county assessment and start fresh. That's the right thing to do, in my opinion. The accountability, I don't know if you saw WAND a few days ago, Shelbyville Township. The unbelievable criminal activity of giving money away. I mean, it was beyond anything we've ever seen. Because of that, we got a law changed. We limited what can happen in townships and how much they can stockpile. That township, with a new board and new leadership and a change in the law, is going to be rebating $500,000 to the taxpayer because they've stockpiled so much money. And they're going to be reducing their levy upwards of $500,000 because they've got enough to last years. They have stockpiled so much money. That's a board that is truly doing the right thing. And then just up the road from them, in Tower Hill, one woman and the board used the power of the government and the power of the tax dollar and their lawyers to fight one guy that wanted answers to FOIAs. All the way to the point of trying to have restraining orders and no stalking orders against the guy. And he fought, and he fought, and he fought. And he took them all the way to the appellate court and won. That woman was indicted last week. She has stolen over $100,000. And all the guy wanted was accountability. It's not asking too much, but says who with what proof? Ask those two questions. When somebody tells you something, make them prove it. Put it in writing. You want an opinion, put it in writing. That way, we all are on the same page. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Perry, you still want to speak?
Just asking about the budget, the 2%. What total dollar amount was that? How many dollars are we talking capital on 2%? Just give me kind of a...
Round numbers between 40 and 50,000, I believe. An additional, additional to, okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Now, that does not include the sheriff's department and probation, which they're on a union contract. That's entirely, that's out of our control.
Okay. Yes.
Just what Kurt mentioned there, you know, about reducing levies and things like that. I just want to remind everybody to, while you're out driving around county, just to take a look at the buildings that are sitting empty and what can we do to help the people in Coles County. Is it something maybe we could, you know, make some cuts here or there to make it more affordable for people who live in our county? Or maybe that's what we need to do. Because if we can cut taxes or other expenses, maybe people's families will be able to have more spendable income to buy things that they want instead of what they have to have. And then maybe other businesses, you know, can thrive or at least make it for a few more years. You know, just a thought.
Thank you. That it? Mr. Demasso?
I just want to say, I hope someone on this board has some sense of a reason and understands and empathizes with our complaints so that you can see where we're coming from. And it's okay if you made a mistake. It really is okay. I make a lot of them every day. But just admit you made a mistake. Let's start over. Let's do it the right way. Let's not fight among each other. We're all neighbors. We all go to church together. We all go to the store. I mean, we see each other. I'm right across the street. I see every one of you when you walk in the building. Just let's do this the right way. We're not asking you for anything more than just to follow the rule of law. That's it. I'm really not trying to be an agitator. For 30 years I've stood over there and I've supported the community. I've never got up here and tried to, you know, do something like this. I just can't be silent.
Thank you. Well, motion to adjourn. Degler, second. Haley, roll call.
Purdy. Shook. Weber. Zupan. Coffee. Haley. Degler.
More and more. Versus this one.